Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's lesson. Welcome to the stream. We'll be starting in about a minute or two, but just hope you guys can hear me. If you can, just type it in the comments or the live chat session, and then we'll take it off from there. Okay, so today's lesson or today's stream, we're going to continue from where we left off, which is the poster design we're working on the last time. Let me see if I can get a brief. Okay, this is the project we started with in our previous stream. We're designing a poster for Summit 2026 social media campaign. And I think we were able to input all the assets into the design. And yeah, today we are going to continue from there. So first off, let me open the document, the Photoshop document. Okay. So this is where we got to the last time. And today we'll see if we can finish up and maybe talk about a few things, then we'll end today's stream. Trying to see if there's a way I can record this so I can post it later instead of the live being uploaded by itself. Because mostly I want the videos to be short and precise so you don't have to go through all the long pauses and all that. Okay, recording. Okay, so like I said earlier, today we are going to continue from where we left off. And today we're going to look at how to add text, how to add color and other stuff to your text to make it stand out, and also how to add the subtext or sub information like the date, the time, and all that. But you're not going to go too advanced. We'll just cover the basics and then we'll see what we'll do next. Okay. So first thing I'm going to tackle here is the logo. So because we have a dark blue logo behind, this cyan color which is assigned to this logo is barely visible. So you're going to do something to it to make it stand out. So one of the things we can do is to either put it inside of a shape or use a contrasting color for the logo. So I'm going to see if I can show you the two separate methods we can use to make your logo stand out. So I'm going to create a document, create a new document, and then what I'm going to do next is to import my logo. So I'm going to take this logo over here. So that's the layer. Where's the layer? There's the layer for that logo. And I'm going to copy it. Or you can just duplicate the layer. So I'll click duplicate and then select the document I want to place it in. So I'll place it in the new one I created, which is Untitled 1. And then click OK. So now it's going to show in our new document. And I'm going to scale this out a bit. I'll use Ctrl T to scale it out. Ctrl T and then use one of the points at the edges to scale out the logo. This isn't like part of the design we are making. This like a simple tutorial or a few ways you can go by to make your logo stand out in a design you're making, whether it's a flyer, a business card, or a document like a magazine and all that. So yeah. So first off, let's take this for example. So in this instance, we have a white background and we have a pale cyan colored logo. We can see the logo okay, but not everyone will be able to see the logo from a distance. They might see that, oh, there's an object on a white background, but they wouldn't be able to tell what that object displays or what that object is showing. So to do this, you're going to pick a contrasting color for this logo. And since this one is a smart object, we've assigned a blend mode to it or a layer effect to it, which is the color overlay. So you're going to double click on the right side of the layer. Once we double click, you're going to see this new window here. I think I talked about this window in the previous lesson. So we are going to go to our color overlay option here, and then we'll change this color to, let's say, a black color. So black is the most contrasting color against the color white. So we'll use black and then click OK. So you can see that this color over here makes the logo pop out more and makes the logo show out more as compared to the pale cyan color we had earlier. Okay, let's try another color and see if our logo still stand out. So instead of now going to click on the double click on the right side again, we can just double click on the color overlay option here. And that's going to bring our window and directly open the color overlay tab. Okay. So you're going to click on the color box here. And now we are going to try a different color. But let's make sure that it's on the right side and not the left. If it's on the left, it's going to conflict the background color because the background color is a brighter shade, or let's say a brighter shade. So if you are going to pick a color and we choose a color close to this white point here, it's going to be a little bit difficult to see the logo or to recognize the logo on the background, on the white background. So let's go with, let's say purple. So you can see that we can still see our logo, we can still see our text and all that. But what if we had a darker background? So I'm going to create a solid color layer. So I'll go to the adjustment layers option here, click on it, and then select solid color. Then I'm going to choose a darker blue, something like this. So you can see that the color we had before for the logo is conflicting with the background color. So you can see that the logo, the previous color we set for our logo is now conflicting with the background color we have now. So you're going to change that. We'll double click on the color overlay here. And then we'll change the color here. This time we are going for a brighter color, or you can change the hue to fit a more warm color, a warmer color to fit the logo so we can recognize it or differentiate it from our background. So we can go with red, you can go with yellow. So you can see here that I'm playing around with the warmer colors instead of the cool colors, since our background color is a cool color. So I'm just going around with the warm colors. But if you want to still have a blue logo on top of a blue background, what you can do is to make the blue color which is on top a little brighter than the one below it. So something like this is fine. Something close to the white is okay. And then you click OK, and you can see that our logo still stands out. But there's a different method you can use to make your logo stand out. So let's say the background is a very basic background. It has a whole gradient and all that. And any color you choose doesn't seem to let the logo stand out. What you can do is to place the logo inside of a shape. Most designers usually use the circle shape to differentiate the logo from the background. So we're going to create a circle. What I'll do is I'll go to my rectangle tool here, right click on it, and then I'll select the ellipse tool. Once I select the ellipse tool, I'll come back to my canvas, click and drag. Make sure you have shift pressed on your keyboard. So you press shift whilst clicking and dragging, and then you first release the mouse pointer before you release the shift key to create your circle. Okay, so now we have a white circle here. I'm going to go back to my move tool, select my circle, Ctrl T to transform. So let's say you don't want to always be pressing Ctrl T to transform your shape. You can enable this option here to always show transform control. So if you have this option here and you click any object at all, it will automatically bring the transformation paths that will allow you to easily scale up or scale down your objects. But mostly I find this to be distracting, so I'm going to turn it off. Click on my circle layer, Ctrl T to transform. Then I'll scale this down a bit. Once I'm done with that, you can either press the enter key on your keyboard or press the check mark here. And then we are going to bring our logo, which is on this layer, on top of our ellipse layer. So click and drag this to the top, and then we have our logo on top of the ellipse layer. Now the next thing we are going to do is to change the color of our logo. So here I can decide to give the color of my logo the same color as my background, and it's not going to really make it, it's not really going to conflict the background, because now we have a white circle or a white ellipse behind it, so it's still going to make our logo stand out. So I'm going to click on the logo, and then I'll go to the color overlay option here, double click it, and then I'll change the color by double clicking or clicking once on this color box. and then I'll change the color to any color of my choice. So let's go with the green. Click OK, click OK. Click on my logo, Ctrl T to transform. Then I'll scale it down. So you can see that our logo still stands out with the help of this circle shape over here. So now we are going to apply this method to our design. So I'll go back to my design, and then we have our logo here. So what I'm going to do is, just like before, I'm going to create an ellipse shape or circle. So I'll go here. Here you can see that our ellipse shape is enabled now, or is on the top of the tool option. If we were to, mostly it's on the rectangle tool by default. So if you want to see the rest of the shapes, you just right click and then select the shape that you want to use. And once you select the shape that you want to use, that shape is going to show on top of that tool option. Unless maybe you want to go back to the rectangle tool, you right click and then select the rectangle, then it takes you back to that rectangle shape. But this time we are going to use the ellipse. So we'll go back, right click, and then select the ellipse tool, and then we'll click and drag. Whilst clicking and dragging, if you want to create a perfect circle, what you do is you hold shift whilst clicking and dragging to create a perfect circle. You release the mouse pointer first, the mouse button first, and then you release the shift key. So now we have our white circle shape here. Next thing we are going to do, like we did earlier, is to bring our logo on top of the circle. So we'll come here, this layer here represents our logo. So you're going to click and drag this layer on top of the circle layer or the ellipse layer. Now, to be able to easily identify your layers or objects in your design, it's best to name your layers. So how do you name a layer? To name a layer, you just double click on the text allocated on that layer or allocated to that layer. So we double click on this vector smart object text, and then it allows us to edit it. So we are going to name our layer logo or main logo, and then press enter. So now we've named our logo or our layer main logo, so we can easily identify it. So now we are going to go to our move tool, click and drag the logo to make it fit the center of our circle. Something like this is fine. And then we're going to double click on the color overlay here, the color overlay option. So we'll double click it, click on the color box here, and then we'll change the color to something more visible. So let's go with this color. Once you're done, you click OK. And now we have our logo standing out, which is on top of our circle. But now we want to scale the tool because it looks big. So you're going to select our logo layer, which is this one, the main logo layer. And then we'll hold shift and then select the ellipse layer. But let's say you're trying to select a couple of layers, and those layers are not directly beside each other, but I want to select them. If you hold, let's say you're trying to select the rectangle layer here, and then we press shift and maybe want to select the logo, but we don't want to select all these options here. When we press shift and we select the logo layer, it selects the layers in between. So to do a simple way to do that is to first select the layer that you want to work on, and then you hold Control or Command on your keyboard, and then you select the other layer you want to adjust or work on. So it's going to only select those two layers. And this method is one of the very basic shortcuts in Windows or working around the Windows operating system. So let me open a file explorer and explain. Okay, let's see. So let's say we have a couple of files here and we want to select let's say 4 of these files, but we don't, let's say we want to select these design files, but we don't want to select everything in between. So in a normal instance, someone would click on the first file that they want to copy and then press shift and come and select the last one. So what happens here is that selects every other file in between, but we want to only select these designs. So we'll just select the first one, press Control or Command on your keyboard and select the other files you want to use. Maybe you want to copy or delete them. You need to only select those files for you. So you are just basically applying that knowledge into our Photoshop workflow. On your keyboard and select the other files you want. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so now we are going to let's select our logo and then our ellipse, and then Control T to transform the two. And we'll just scale this down, place it at the center. So now we have our logo at the center, at the top center of our design. And then we'll click the check mark here. Okay, so that's one way to make your logo stand out in any design you're trying to do or any design you're trying to work on. Now let's go on to the next thing, our image. So here, I think in our previous lesson, we used the camera roll to work on this image, but you can see that the image doesn't really look clean or professional. So what we are going to do is we are going to do a little retouching on our image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click the thumbnail here, the thumbnail of our image here. So I'll double click this and it's going to take us to our image over here. So what we are going to do first is, before you retouch a photo, you can basically use AI to retouch your pictures, but if you want to do it manually, there are certain tools you can use. But to do that, let's go back to our documents, and then I'm going to delete this layer mask here. So I'll click on the layer mask, right click on it, and then delete layer mask, so that we have just our image. So I'll bring out the image and I'm going to convert this image into a smart object. So I'll right click on this layer and then select convert to smart object. So after that, what we are going to do next is to double click on our layer thumbnail, and then we have our image here. I don't want the extra space around it, so I'm going to crop the image to fit just this borderlines or these dimensions. So I'll just go to my crop tool and then bring this one down, bring this to the left, and then bring this to the right, and then press enter on your keyboard. Okay, I think I left out some parts of it, and then press enter. Okay, so now we have just our image, and we are going to delete this. You're going to get rid of the camera raw filter which we created in the previous lesson. So right click on it and then delete or clear smart filters. So now we have just our image. So the first thing you do whenever you want to retouch an image is to be safe. First thing that's mostly advised is to create a duplicate of your original image. So to do that, you press Ctrl J on your keyboard to create a duplicate. So on the right side, you can see that we have two layers or two duplicates of the same layer, or let's say one duplicate of the same layer. Now we are going to convert this duplicate here. We are going to convert it into a rasterized image. So right click on it and then look for this option that says rasterize layer. So now what we are going to do on this layer is that we are going to remove the unwanted parts, or maybe let's say the blemishes on the person's face, or the stuff that we don't want to see on the person's face. You're going to clear them. So to do that, we can use different tools for that. But in the latest versions of Photoshop, there's an option here. You go to the spot healing brush tool. When you right click on it, you see an option here that says remove tool. So select the remove tool. Any part of your design or image you select, it's going to remove that part and try to fill it in automatically. So we are going to remove this extra hair on his forehead. So first I'm going to decrease the size of my brush. So to decrease the size of your brush, you can just come to the top, press the drop down and then take it down a bit. I think this is fine. And then we are just going to paint over the parts that we don't want. So I'm going to paint over this extra strand of hair. And then it tries its best to remove whatever we painted on. So you're going to do the same for these portions. And then let's clear the eye bags on his eye or beneath his eye. And then the other blemishes on his cheekbone. Okay, I think this is looking a bit better. So now let's see the before and after. So there's the before and this the after, but we are not done yet. You can still go the extra mile and just clear the other stuff that you don't want. But because of time, I'm just showing you what the tool does. So maybe if you have extra time on your hands, you can just go through it. You can take your time and then go through your image and see if there are certain blemishes you want to get rid of. Okay, I think this is okay. And then once you're done removing the blemishes and all that, the next thing you're going to do is to do something they call the frequency separation. But I'll talk about that in another lesson. But today we are just trying to finish up the design, and I don't even think we'll be able to finish it, but let's see. Okay, so I'm done removing the blemishes and the extra strands of hair. And then next thing I'm going to do is to maybe apply a camera raw filter on top of this. So I'm going to convert this layer back into a smart object. So I'll right click on that layer, then convert to smart objects. And then I'll go to my filter option on the menu bar and then select the camera raw filter. Okay, let me zoom into the face so you can see everything I'm doing. Okay, so on our right side, you can see a lot of sliders here. So I'm going to adjust a few of these sliders to make our image look a bit sharper. So first thing I'm going to do is to increase the exposure a bit, but it shouldn't be too much. The moment you begin to see certain white colors on his face, then that means it's too high, or the exposure is too high. So I think somewhere like this is fine. Then I'm going to take down the highlights a bit. And then I'll increase the contrast. Okay. Then we are going to go all the way down to this option, the detail option. And then I'm going to increase the noise reduction and the color noise reduction. But we don't want to take it all the way high, or our image is going to look cartoonish or too way too smooth. So we are going to leave it somewhere here, somewhere around 24 or 25. And then we'll increase the sharpness. Okay, I think this is fine. Then we'll go back to the top, increase the clarity, then increase our texture a bit. And then we're going to increase our vibrance and then a bit. Now, if you look closely on our image, you see some green colors on the guy's skin or on the guy's face. So we are going to take that down. So what we are going to use is this option here, the color mixer option. So under the color mixer option, you are going to go to the saturation option, and then we'll decrease the saturation of the greens. So I'll take it all the way down, then maybe take down the yellows a bit, increase the orange. Okay, I think this is fine. And then click OK. I'll see if I can make a video going more in depth into color correction or making your images look better when you are trying to use them to create a flyer or something. So now let's look at the before and the after. So this is how our image looked before, and this is how it looks after. So before, after, after. And then we are going to press Ctrl S on our keyboard to save, and then we'll go back to our design so that we can see the changes here. So now we have our image. We'll scale it up a bit, Ctrl T to adjust it. So Ctrl T and then scale up our image somewhere like something like this is fine. Then press the enter key on your keyboard or click the check mark here. And then on our contextual bar, we're going to select the remove background option to remove the background of our image. Okay, so now we've taken the background of our image, leaving out just the man with the laptop. Let's bring it to the right. Then we are going to bring down the title text down all the way here. I think somewhere on the left is fine. And then let's increase this a bit. Okay, I think this is fine. Let's bring down logo a bit. Okay. So I think this is better. Now the next thing is to include the date and the time and some other extra information. So let's go back to our design brief. So we have our headline, we have our subheadline, now the date and the time, and also call to action. Register today, link in bio. Okay. So in this design, I'm going to place this text register today at the top right. You can see that we have an empty space here, so we cannot just leave that side empty, else our work will not look balanced. So I'm going to put some text over here so that it balances out the design. So I'll go to my text layer, text tool here on my tool panel, and then click on my canvas or artboard. Then I'm going to type register today. Register today, exclamation. Then select everything, go to my properties panel, and then reduce the size of my text. Press enter. No, I think if you press enter on your keyboard, it's going to create a new line. Yeah, so just click on the check mark once you're done. And I'll go to my move tool and click and drag this to the right. So now we have our register today text on the right and then our logo on the left. Okay, but now realize that our register today text is not visible enough. So what we are going to do here is to either add an adjustment layer option, or you can add a layer style to it to make it stand out. So to add a layer style, like I said earlier, you just click on the object, go to the layer, and then right click on the right side of that layer to create the blend style, the layer style menu. So it opens the layer style menu, and here we have multiple layer styles we can choose from or we can use. So here I'm going to select the drop shadow. So in this situation, you can either use a drop shadow or you can use the stroke. So I'm going to use the both of them, but I'm going to show you how I use the both of them to make the text stand out. So first, let's work with the stroke. So with the stroke, I'm going to choose a blue color. Then I'm going to reduce the size a bit. I think this is fine. And then I'm going to add a drop shadow to it. And then reduce the size of the shadow. Okay, I think this is better. Okay. Now let me see if I can elaborate more on the layer styles. So let's go back to the new document I created earlier. And then I'm going to delete this, delete this, delete this. Then let's create a text. Let's create a text. So I'm going to name this, I'm going to type sample, select everything, and then change the color to, let's say, red. Press the check mark. Then bring our text to the center of our canvas, or somewhere here is fine. Let me scale it out so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so now we have a sample text here. So to make our text more interesting, or to add some styles to our text or some sort of design to our text, what we mostly use are what we call layer styles. And one way to access those layer styles is to double click on the right side of that layer. Make sure that you're not double clicking on the text, else if you double click on the layer text, it's going to make you, like, give you the ability to rename your layer. But we don't want to do that. We just want to access our layer styles menu. So right click somewhere here, double click somewhere here, and then we have our layer style option. So the first thing you're going to do here, so there are multiple ways to make your design stand out. So I'll just show you the first method I like to use, and then I'll show you a different method. For the fonts, for this font, I think I'm using the Nexa fonts here. The font's name is Nexa, Nexa. I think I'll upload it to the page, or maybe send it to you personally so you can have a look. So yeah, let's go back to our layer style menu, and then we're going to select the stroke. So I'll select the stroke, and then I'll make this color, let's say a cream color, but you're going to change it again. You're going to change it later. So for now, I'll just make it a cream color, then increase the size of my stroke. Make sure that the position is outside. If it's inside, it's going to create a stroke inside of your of the inside of the borders of your text, but I want it to be outside our text. So select outside, increase it a bit, and then you are going to go to the drop shadow option. So select drop shadow, decrease our opacity a bit, and then increase the size of our shadow. Then you can come outside of the layer style menu, click and drag to bring the shadow out a bit. So I think somewhere here is fine. Increase the spread a bit, and then we'd increase the shadow a bit. And then now I'm going to go back to my stroke and then make it the same color as my background, which is white. So I can either bring the mouse pointer to the canvas, which will show the eyedropper tool, and then select the background color, then click OK, click OK. So now you can see that we have an interesting text style or text effect here. So I'm going to show you another text effect, or we're going to add another thing to our text over here. So I'm going to make a duplicate of this one. To make a duplicate, like I said earlier, you press Ctrl J, click and drag it outside of the original copy, and then we are going to do the same thing. We are going to go back and then open our layer style menu. And then now what we are going to do with this one is we are going to change the color of the text. So to do that, we are going to go to the color overlay, and then we'll select a color from this option here. So you can go with purple. Let's use purple for now. Click OK. And then we'll go to the top here, the first menu in our layer style options, which is the bevel and emboss. So the bevel and emboss is exactly how, like, it exactly means what it means. The exact words it says. I don't even know how to put it. I'm confusing myself. So the bevel and emboss basically does what the name says. Yeah, let me put it like that. It basically does what the name says, or what the name suggests. Bevel and emboss. So now we have a slight or minor bevel or emboss attached to our text, and then I'm going to increase the depth, and let's see what happens when we do that. So you can see that the bevel increases. When I take it down, it's like there's no bevel at all. So keep this somewhere here. Then we can increase the size. I think somewhere like this is fine. Yeah, I think this is fine. And then here you can see that the light is coming from the top left, but we can change the direction of the light using this option here. So I can click here to make the direction of the light come from this side, or from the bottom, or back from the top. Okay. So now we have our bevel here, and there are also other options here like the gloss contour. So with this one, if we click on it, we'll see these options here. So sometimes if you want to make your text effect more dramatic, you can try out these options. So with this one, you can see that it's giving us a chromatic feel to our text. Then we can go with other options like this one, or this one, this one. I think I like this one more. And then we'll decrease our depth a bit, and then decrease the size a bit. Okay, I think that's fine, and then click OK. So now you can see that we've created two interesting text effects in just a single menu. So you can use this when you're designing, let's say, a playful poster or something similar, or something that has this kind of vibe. Okay, I don't know if I should end the session here, because I have some other stuff I need to attend to. So yeah, I think I'll end here for now, and I'll make a whole video on the flyer design. Maybe I might use a different flyer to do the video, so it will basically be like a flyer breakdown or a breakdown design, and then I'll upload it to my YouTube on this channel here, but it won't be part of the lessons. It will just be a separate video, or let's say a bonus video that you can go back to watch and learn from. So I'll end today's session here, and I'll see you guys in our next live stream.